Online students asan nahi. Hello, students, can you hear me? Hello. Tate kiba eta hoise. Hello, students, can you hear me? Okay. Shuna paise. Okay, I think we can start the class. So, in the last class what we were discussing was we were talking about the next group of Monera, that is cyanobacteria, right. And what we have discussed so far is we have talked about certain differences between eubacteria and cyanobacteria and some of the introductory points about cyanobacteria, right. Whenever we talk about cyanobacteria, we know they are also called as what? Blue-green algae, right. Why they are called as blue-green algae? Because they appear blue-green in color because of the different pigments that are present inside them, right. Next, another point that is important is they produce what? The earth's maximum oxygen, no? So, both say oxygen basically kune produce kore, it is always a blue-green algae, right. Next, we have also talked about N-oxygenic and oxygenic. These are the two terms related, one with eubacteria and the other with cyanobacteria, because we know there are certain photosynthetic bacteria and cyanobacteria, obviously they are photosynthetic. But in case of eubacterial photosynthesis, we know that oxygen does not get evolved, but cyanobacterial photosynthesis, obviously oxygen gets evolved, right. Talking about the different pigments, we have discussed it in the form of a chart. Next point, cyanobacteria, whenever we talk about, we know the most important role is soil fertility, right. Examples of cyanobacteria or Nostoc, Olocera, etc., etc. These are the things that we have discussed. Talking about the cell structure in just one line, if you want to say, what we will say, it's exactly or it's almost the same as gram-negative bacteria. So, we have an idea how does the cell wall looks like and what would be the structure inside, right. So, gram-negative is a word that you will remember. Next is we have also talked about the cytoplasm, peripheral cytoplasm and central cytoplasm, right. I think this is the portion that we have. Oh yes, another thing is talking about something called as Goddekov's phenomenon, right. What I said is the blue-green algae could keep changing their colors, right, depending on at which depth of the water body they are found, right. Since they can keep changing their colors, this phenomenon is called as what? Goddekov's. The color changes because of the wavelength of light that they absorb, right. That is the reason why they change their color. Next is we have also talked about Trichodesmium erythrum, which is very important from examination point of view. What we have discussed is not all blue-green algae are always blue-green in color. There is an example of a blue-green algae which is red in color, that is Trichodesmium erythrum, responsible for what? The Red Sea, right. So, this was the content that we have discussed in the last class. So, we will be continuing with cyanobacteria today. Aji likha reserve food in blue-green algae. Right, reserve food materials ki ase aapko yar upor to question ahe. Right. Talking about types of reserve food in blue-green algae, we have different types, and the question is asked about this part also, right. So, you have to talk about this. So, cyanophycean granules, obviously we understand that cyanophyce is, that word is related with blue-green algae. So, it is understood that we are talking about the reserve food material. Beta granule, beta oxidation, I think this is a term that you all have heard. Whenever we talk about beta oxidation, we are talking about the breaking down of fat. So, obviously it is related with fat, right. So, droplets, fats bilak what is the granule? It is a small sac like structure, right. Inside the granule, what is stored is obviously fats. Next, cyanophycean, myxophycean starch granules. Starch, we understand we are talking about the food or the carbohydrates, right. Similarly, alpha granule, volatile granule, polyhedral bodies. Talking about this one, alpha granule, we have written something called as similar to glycogen. Why have we written this? Because if you remember, when we have drawn the diagram of the prokaryotic cell of the bacterial cell, if you remember, we have drawn a big diagram, no? And in the diagram we have shown the presence of certain types of granules like glycogen granules, volatile granules, etc. Just to make our understanding that glycogen granules are present both in cyanophyceae, and it is also present in eubacteria. Next is, we have something called as polyhedral bodies. Rubisco rich, whenever we hear the word Rubisco, what is that process that you remember? Rubisco ki hoy? Rubisco is nothing but an enzyme. So, the question is, with which process this enzyme is related? Agote khunisan nai, have you heard this word before? Very important part. Rubisco. C3 cycle, exactly. We are talking something about photosynthesis, light reaction and dark reaction. And dark reaction, when we talk about, I think you all remember C3, C4, CAM cycle, right? So, in case of C3 cycle, that particular enzyme that plays the most important role is called as Rubisco, RUBP. What is the full form? RUBP. Rubisco, actually it talks about RUBP. Right, we will be discussing in details during our photosynthetic class, but in spite of that, just to have an idea, what is Rubisco? It is an enzyme, right. It is an enzyme that acts as an carboxylase, it also acts as an oxygenase, means it is an enzyme that take up carbon dioxide in a particular reaction, it can take up oxygen also in a particular reaction. If it takes in carbon dioxide, the process of photosynthesis would be faster because plants require carbon dioxide to go for photosynthesis or to conduct photosynthesis. But if Rubisco accepts oxygen instead of carbon dioxide, then obviously the process of photosynthesis will become slow as compared to the normal process. Details in the photosynthetic class, right. I think this is clear now, right. So, Rubisco also we had an enzyme if you just want to write. Just to have an idea so that next time you do not forget. I think I can drop the board. Yes, online students? Okay. Next, we have to talk about the most important process related with cyanobacteria or the blue-green algae. What I am talking about is nothing but nitrogen fixation, and because of nitrogen fixation, what happens is, we have talked about the fertility of the soil, right. Blue-green algae kua loge loge, we remember they help in increasing the fertility of the soil, and the process behind is obviously nitrogen fixation. So, heading koriba nitrogen fixation. Okay. So, we will be writing certain points about nitrogen fixation, but let us have an idea first. Okay. Talking about nitrogen fixation, the first point to be remembered is it an anaerobic process or it is an aerobic process? It is an anaerobic process, right. I think we have already discussed few points in the last class. What I said is nitrogen fixation hobo lagile, if it has to occur, then it always should be away or free from oxygen. What is the reason behind? The reason behind is the most important enzyme that is required for this process, that is nothing but nitrogenase. It comes in contact with oxygen and ultimately it denatures or it breaks down. So, in order to keep that enzyme properly, because that is the most important enzyme that it will work, right. So, it should be kept away from oxygen. So, that is the second point. Third point, in case of blue-green algae, where exactly nitrogen fixation takes place. Remember, we have talked about a particular cell that is called as heterocyst. Blue-green algae, another point to be referred is, in the last class we have talked about forms of blue-green algae. Right? If you remember, there are certain unicellular forms, certain colonial forms and certain filamentous forms, right? And when we are talking about filamentous forms, if the plant body looks like a filament, then we understand that we are talking about arrangement of cells from one to another, right? And the filament have a particular term to that. What was the term that we have discussed? Trichome, right? And one example obviously is nostoc, that is an example of a filamentous blue-green algae. If you are talking about a filament, obviously cells would be arranged one above the other, right? So, enukwa jodi hoy tetihole filament hobo. So, in this trichome, we will see certain special cells which are much thicker as compared to the normal cells, right? So, this cell would be called as a heterocyst. And what is the most important function? Obviously, nitrogen fixation. If the process of nitrogen fixation has to occur in this cell, right, then it should be away or it should be free from oxygen, right. If it has to be free from oxygen, then there should be two processes. Oxygen should not be produced inside the cell, plus it should not be taking the oxygen outside, I mean from the atmosphere. So, in other way around, what we can say is the cell wall of the heterocyst is permeable, impermeable, right, BLE, no. So, the cell wall of heterocyst is impermeable to oxygen. If it is impermeable to oxygen, obviously it cannot take the atmospheric oxygen. Bahiৰৰ পৰা oxygen to lobo নোৱাৰে. Baki cells bilake bahiৰৰ পৰা oxygen to lobo paribo because it's permeable, right. So, the first point, because the main aim is to keep this cell away from oxygen. The first point is it cannot take in the atmospheric oxygen. Second point, since it is nothing but a blue-green algae, obviously it will conduct what? Photosynthesis. If it conducts photosynthesis, then oxygen would be produced. Yes or no? Because oxygenic and anoxygenic are the two terms that we have already discussed. Cyanobacterial photosynthesis always produces what? Oxygen. So, this is I mean what? Green in color. So, obviously the cells will produce photosynthesis. If you talk about photosynthesis, we have to talk about light reaction and dark reaction. If you talk about light reaction, we have to talk about PS1 and PS2. Something from the photosynthesis part, if you remember, because we know the entire process of photosynthesis is divided into two phases. It's a light reaction and it's a dark reaction. What happens in the dark reaction? The main food or the carbohydrate or the starch that is produced. What happens in the light reaction? The products of light reaction are synthesized, which helps in producing the food. And what are the products we are talking about? ATP, NADPH2. No doubt we talk about ATP and NADPH2, but we know that oxygen is also produced during light reaction. We have to be clear whether it's in light reaction or it's in dark reaction that the oxygen is produced. It's always in light reaction. Next. Again, if you are talking about light reaction, obviously details in the photosynthesis class. So, light reaction is divided into PS1 and PS2. You have to be specific. Oxygen is produced during which cyclic process. Remember, there we have talked about cyclic photophosphorylation and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Again, these two terms are related with photosynthesis. Right. So, you have to know who is responsible. PS1 is responsible for the production of oxygen or PS2 is responsible. Right. It is always PS2 that is responsible. So, as I was saying that this cell should be free from oxygen. There should be no reactions which produces oxygen. So, it is obvious that this is a cell where PS2 activities will not be shown. Light reactions will occur, and if you are talking about light reaction, it is only PS1 that will occur, and if it is PS1, what is the product of PS1? PS1, PS2, it's of two types, right? PS1 produces only dash, PS2 produces dash and dash. PS1 produces only ATP. PS2 produces ATP, NADPH2 and oxygen, right? So, it is only PS1. So, obviously in this cell we will see the formation of ATP and not of oxygen because PS2 is absent. Clear? So, these are the points that we will write later. Next, another point is, if you are talking about this as a filament or a trichome, this cell or a special cell would be called as heterocyst. What about the rest of the cells? The rest of the cells are called as vegetative cells. right? So this one is nothing but a vegetative cell, right? Again, this one is also called as a vegetative cell. This one would also be called as a vegetative cell. Now, whenever we use the word vegetative cell, what is the next term that we use? Reproductive cell, right? So in a filament, it comprises of what? It comprises of certain vegetative cells and certain reproductive cells. In the diagram, we have talked about vegetative cells, we have talked about heterocysts. Then which one would be a reproductive cell? The heterocyst is considered as a reproductive cell also. What is the main function of heterocyst? Obviously nitrogen fixation, but apart from nitrogen fixation, under certain circumstances, the heterocyst can form its filaments also, or it can form new forms also, right? So since these are lower forms, they can do any type of reproduction. Higher forms, if you are talking about, they will be fixed to, or they will confine to a particular type of reproduction, right? Sexual reproduction to only sexual reproduction. But if you are talking about lower forms, they might go for sexual, they might go for vegetative, they might go for asexual reproduction, etc., etc. So in this filament, heterocyst would be considered as a reproductive cell. What is the reason? Because it can produce as like forms, right? By the process of what? By the process of asexual reproduction or vegetative reproduction. Since this is a reproductive cell, these cells will be called as vegetative. Next, since we are talking about blue-green algae, since we are talking about the photosynthesis process that is that occurs in the blue-green algae, talking about photosynthesis, you have to remember something called as carbon dioxide fixation also. Because we know plants will take in carbon dioxide and only then they will be conducting the process of photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide fixation is the first term that we listen or we have already studied about. What do you understand by the word carbon dioxide fixation? Nitrogen fixation, carbon dioxide fixation, two words, right? So nitrogen fixation means what? Taking in of atmospheric nitrogen is called as nitrogen fixation, and converting it to usable forms of nitrogen. That is what is nitrogen fixation, and that usable form is taken in by the plant body. Now coming to the term called as carbon dioxide fixation. Fixation means nothing but taking in, right? The plants will take in the atmospheric carbon dioxide. It will be stored inside the cell, and this is what is called as carbon dioxide fixation. What is the first step of dark reaction? Again going back to photosynthesis, two reactions, light reaction, dark reaction. What is the first step of light reaction? Taking in light. Obviously, who takes in the light? The pigments take in the light, right? What is the first step of dark reaction? Carbon dioxide fixation. Remember, there is a diagram in your NCERT book also. You have a cyclic diagram where something called as fixation, reduction and regeneration is written, right? That C3 cycle, that diagram that's given in your NCERT book. So what is the first step? It is always carbon dioxide fixation, right? For photosynthesis to occur, the plants need to take in carbon dioxide. The process is called as carbon dioxide fixation. Coming to this diagram, where will carbon dioxide fixation takes place? Because they have to take in carbon dioxide, নহলে to photosynthesis and nohobo. So carbon dioxide fixation always occurs in the vegetative cell, right? So I think now we have an idea about the entire nitrogen fixation process. The next point, once nitrogen is fixed, what happens to the nitrogen inside the plant body? You have to know the process means what? You have to have a brief idea. A nitrogen fixation means taking in of atmospheric nitrogen. Atmospheric nitrogen is in the form of N2. Plants take in nitrogen in the form of NO3 and not N2. So N2 needs to get converted to NO3, where? In the soil or inside the cell. Once NO3 enters inside the plant cell, can the plants use NO3 as a source of nitrogen? No. Are you understanding the process? See, what I am talking about, atmosphere or ki thakibo? Nitrogen thakibo, right? Plants bilakok ki lage? Nitrogen lage? Nitrogen kuntu formot loy? NO3, right? Why do plants need nitrogen? Because all the basic components, all the basic products that are formed inside the body is made up of nitrogen, and building block boli kore ki jano? Proteins. So proteins, amino acids, if it has to form, everything is, if amino acid has to be formed inside the cell, so they will be requiring what? Nitrogen, but they cannot accept nitrogen from the atmosphere. So this nitrogen in the soil or inside the plant cell, right? Kihor formot thakibo? Why am I writing two forms? The two words symbiotic and asymbiotic. because we know nitrogen fixation is not always a symbiotic process. Asymbiotically also nitrogen can be fixed. For the fixation of nitrogen, who is responsible? Obviously microorganisms are responsible. Now depending on the fact where are the microorganisms present, is it present inside the cell or is it present in the soil? If it is present in the soil, right, depending on which specific microorganism is required, right. If you are talking about rhizobium, then obviously inside the plant cell, right. But there are certain microorganisms that are present in the soil also. If it is present in the soil and they fix the nitrogen, that process is called as what? Asymbiotic nitrogen fixation. If the microorganism is present inside the plant body and they fix the nitrogen, that is called a symbiotic plant, right. So whatever might be the process, we know nitrogen will get converted to the in the form of NO3. If NO3 is present in the soil, this NO3 would be taken in by the plants. So inside the plant cell, what you will see? NO3. And in this case also, inside the plant cell, what you will see? NO3. Now, in the atmosphere it was NO2. Inside the plant cell, it is NO3. Why all this process? Because the plants wanted to use nitrogen, but you have to remember the plants cannot use nitrogen in this form. Similar in the case like if you want to have rice, you have to cook it. You cannot be eating the raw rice. Similarly in this case also, if they have to use it, they have to convert it also, right? Is it clear? Right? So NO3 will be present in here, but this NO3 will again be converted to usable forms. What are the usable forms? NO3 will get converted to NO2, means what? The entire process that was occurring outside the cell will now occur inside the cell. Here what happened? N2 got converted to NO2, NO2 got converted to NO3. Inside the plant cell, NO3 will get converted to NO2, NO2 will get converted to the required products that is essential. Right. Now the point is, what is the ultimate product that is formed because of nitrogen fixation? I have already said, or I have already given you a hint, it is nothing but what? Amino acids. So ultimately this NO3 will get converted to NO2. NO2 with the help of the different products, different chemical compounds present inside the cell, they will form a reaction, right. If you remember, have you heard something called as alpha ketoglutaric acid? Obviously, it is very important, right. So, at one stage NO2 plus alpha ketoglutaric acid will combine and they will form something called as glutamine. That is nothing but an amino acid. So, what is the product of nitrogen fixation? Amino acid. So, inside the plant cell, nitrogen is formed in the form of what? Amino acid. Again, during our nitrogen fixation class, this is something that should be dealt, in details in the chapter called as mineral nutrition, right. So, at that time, these are the points that we are going to write, not now, but just to have an idea. What I said, atmospheric nitrogen is ultimately present in the form of amino acid inside the plant cell. But the next point, amino acid is something that's not stable. Because we know there are 20 types of amino acids, and amino acids, what they do? They will break and combine and ultimately they will form another amino acids also. So, you need something that is stable. Nitrogen got converted to amino acid, but amino acid keeps on breaking down, right. So, what is that ultimate stable form? It is nothing but amide. So, ultimately the precise answer is nitrogen from the atmosphere is present inside the cell body in the form of amide. And what is glutamide? Right, glutamic acid and glutamide, two different things. One is the amino acid, one is the amide. So, ultimately amide is the product of nitrogen fixation, but generally in the exams you do not have the option of amide, it is just an amino acid level that you have to learn. So, if the question is asked in which form nitrogen is present inside the plant cell, it is always amino acid, and to be precise, which amino acid is the first formed amino acid? Glutamic acid, right. Details you do not have to worry, we will write it later in our classes. So, this was all about nitrogen fixation. Now, what we will do is, we will write the points that we have discussed, right, so that in the next time you do not forget. Is the concept clear? Mujipala? Online students, is it clear? Okay. So, since the explanation is done, we will write the notes now. এটা পইণ্ট লিখাচোন ইয়াতে over. Okay, so these were the points about nitrogen fixation. The next point related with the topic is nitrogen fixation. Is it always a symbiotic process? No. We see two types of nitrogen fixation if you are talking about biological. Okay, when we talk about nitrogen fixation, we understand we are talking about a process in which atmospheric nitrogen will get mixed in the soil in usable forms, right. So, there are different processes, not necessarily it is always biological, not necessarily always organisms are responsible for the conversion of or for the process of nitrogen fixation. There are certain types of physical nitrogen fixation also. So, nitrogen fixation process may be divided into two types, one is physical, the other is biological. If microorganisms are involved, that is biological. Physical methods could be industrial. I think you have heard or you have seen we apply fertilizers to the soil. Fertilizers bilakot ki thake, nitrates thake. So, that is also a fixation of nitrogen. So, that is a physical method or it could be categorized under industrial nitrogen fixation. Industrial because that fertilizer is produced in the factories and industries, right. So, industrial nitrogen fixation. Another method could be because of lightning, thunderstorms and lightning. I think you have seen if the lightning falls, then that atmospheric nitrogen get mixed with the soil. Obviously, it has negative effects, no? Ami to bahut dekhi aso no, bojropat pore no. So, in that case, that is another method in which the nitrogen gets fixed in the soil. So, what we can conclude is nitrogen fixation not necessarily is always a biological process. It could be physical, it could be biological. If it is biological, again it could be of two types, either symbiotic or asymbiotic. Similarly, in case of blue-green algae also, both the two types of nitrogen fixation is seen. Symbiotic nitrogen fixation in blue-green algae or helped by blue-green algae and asymbiotic nitrogen fixation in blue-green algae also. So, we were talking about that point. Okay, so symbiotic nitrogen fixation, asymbiotic nitrogen fixation, some of the examples are common. So what we can conclude, they can fix in both ways, symbiotically fix koribo pare, asymbiotically fix koribo pare. If you are talking about symbiotic, there are certain examples that you need to remember, and this is important from examination point of view. Anaerobic নহয়, asymbiotic ha. Anabinar pisat olosira, AULOSIRA, olosira. Okay. Trifolium, TRIFOLIUM. Gunnera, GUNNERA, Gunnera. So this part is also important because many question has been asked from this part, right? So question to kene kya hai? Likha hun likhi. Is it over? Done, no? Okay, very good. I think it's done, right? Okay, now how will you study for exams? Look, this part is important, that also some points are important. So question that is asked is, blue-green algae stays in symbiotic association with. So question to you have so many options, right? So ultimately the question would be on the topic called as nitrogen fixation. So it will be asked as blue-green algae, or it would be asked directly as Anabaena stays in collaboration with dash plant for the process of nitrogen fixation. So you have to remember about Azolla, right? Anabaena azole, I think you have heard about that, right? Anabaena azole, why is it called as such? Because there is anabenal association or symbiotic association. So we know blue-green algae can fix nitrogen symbiotically and asymbiotically. So these blue-green algae form symbiotic association with many plants. Blue-green algae ki hoy, nothing but microorganisms, right? So these microorganisms, if they are present inside the plant body, then we talk about it as a symbiotic process. Whenever we talk about symbiotic process, we remember one example, that is rhizobium. That is the most common example that we remember whenever we hear about symbiotic. Rhizobium is a microorganism. Where is it present? If it's present inside the plant cell, root nodules of leguminous plants, if I think you remember. So if it is present inside the root nodules or inside the root, we use the word called as symbiotic relationship. Not necessary, rhizobium will always be present inside the plant cell. It could be found freely in the soil also. If it is found inside the plant cell, only then we use the word called as symbiotic. Similarly, blue-green algae can remain freely in the soil. It can remain inside plant organisms also, or plant bodies also. So blue-green algae, they are found inside the body of Anthoceros. They could be found inside the body of Azolla, inside the body of Cycas, etc., etc. When they are found inside, we use the word called as symbiotic. Now the first example is the presence of blue-green algae inside the thallus. What is thallus? Nothing but the body, right? The body structure of Anthoceros. Now what is Anthoceros? Obviously a type of plant. Which plant to be precise, or which group of plant it belongs to? Anthoceros kuntu group of plant. Anthoceros is an example of a specific plant, right? Genecham, if I say Cycas, if I say Pinus, it's an example of a specific plant, but we know that Cycas and Pinus belongs to what? Gymnosperms. Similarly, in case of Anthoceros also, it's an example of a specific plant. It belongs to which group of plant? Bryophytes, right? Liverworts, hornworts, I think these are the words that you have heard, right? So Anthoceros, when we'll talk about plant kingdom, we'll be talking about it in details. As of now, Anthoceros is an example of a bryophyte. Next, coming to Azolla. Azolla is also an example of a specific plant. We need to understand it belongs to which group of plants? It belongs to Azolla kuntu group of. Etu bryophyte asile. Azolla ki hoy? Have you heard about Azolla before? Yes. What are the 2 points that you have heard about Azolla? What is so special point that you remember about Azolla? Azolla boli kole kuntum point monor pore. Its economic importance, Janu? Soil fertility. Okay. Second, smallest fern, right? Aquatic fern, right? Manure, green fertilizer, green manure, etc. These are the points that we remember about Azolla. Now Azolla is nothing but a pteridophyte fern, right? So this is an example of a bryophyte. Azolla is a pteridophyte. Coming to this Cycas, we understand it's a gymnosperm. We have a word called as coralloid root. Etu upor birat question hai. A gute kita example saba ha. Gute kita example about question hai. Coralloid root of Cycas. Cycas is a gymnosperm. It has 2 types of roots. One is the normal root. If I talk about root, again roots are divided into 2 categories. Either it would be a taproot system or it would be adventitious root system. In case of gymnosperms, what is the root type that you see? Taproot, adventitious roots. Adventitious or taproot? The answer will come from this point, whether you can uproot the plant easily or not. If you are talking about a rice plant, you can just go and uproot it. If you are talking about a Cycas or a Pinus, is it possible that you will just uproot it like that? No. What is the reason behind? Because it has a strong root system. If it's strong, then obviously not advantageous. Taproot system, right? So gymnosperms, they have a very good taproot system. So Cycas also has a taproot, the normal taproot. Difference between a taproot and adventitious root, I think we understand. either it's formed directly from the radicle or from some other parts, right. So, cycas will have a taproot, it will have its normal root system, but apart from its normal root, it will have some roots that look like coral. Have you heard the word called as coral, that underwater coral reef, right. So, coral looks like what? It looks like, sorry, it looks like bushes, right. Calcium carbonate thakibo or bushor nisna lage, right. So, it is something bushy type na. So, in case of cycas, the normal roots would be present and certain roots look like a bush or have a coral like appearance, and that is called as a coralloid root. Why is it like this, that some roots are different from the main root? It is because inside the root the blue-green algae is present, right. And if it is present, the roots will have a specific form, that form is called as coralloid root. The question that is asked is, coralloid roots of cycas has dash type of association, symbiotic association, and plus symbiotic to hoboi, but you have to be specific with symbiotic, because during our gymnosperm class we will be talking about two examples, one is cycas, one is spinous. Both the two plants have symbiotic association. Cycas also shows symbiotic association, it stays in collaboration with certain type of microorganisms. Pinus also has symbiotic association. So, you have symbiotic, so it is a very common answer, no? So, you have to be precise. Cycas kar logot symbiotically thake, Pinus kar logot symbiotically thake. So, cycas always stays in a symbiotic association with blue-green algae. Pinus have a symbiotic association with mycorrhiza, right. So, coralloid root of cycas shows dash type of association, shows blue-green algae symbiotic association or blue-green algae association, right. Similarly, stem of Gunnera, it is a plant, again etur upor question ahise, stem of Gunnera kar association thake, blue-green algae symbiotic association thake, like, and trifolium also. Root nodules, if you hear this word, it's sometimes it seems like this, talking about that word we remember about rhizobium. Not necessarily each and every root nodule will have rhizobium. Rhizobium ki hoy bacteria, but if you are talking about these are nothing but cyanobacteria, right. So, root nodule, please read the question properly. Kihor root nodule? Root nodule of trifolium or root nodule of leguminous plants? If it is leguminous plants, it is rhizobium. If it is trifolium, it is BGA, right. Okay, this is the part. From this part, the question that is asked is, the most abundantly found blue-green algae in paddy fields? Both, right. If this is there in the option, answer would be this. If this is there in the option, answer would be this. And because of the presence of these two organisms, rice fields are very fertile, right. So, these are the points, and especially this word paddy field you need to remember. Right. So, this was about nitrogen fixation in case of blue-green algae. Next, we move to the next process. We have to talk about the reproduction process in blue-green algae. So, heading kora reproduction in blue-green algae. Talking about reproduction, two types of reproduction, sexual or asexual. What is that type of reproduction you will see? Obviously asexual, right? Sexual reproduction absent. Right? Talking about asexual, there are various forms. Okay. So, what will be the methods of asexual reproduction that you will see in case of blue-green algae? Binary fission. Is it all the blue-green algae that will undergo binary fission? No, it will depend on what? It will depend on the form, right? If it is unicellular, then obviously binary fission. So, the first method that we see, and one example, what? spirulina. Okay. Next we had a form called as filamentous, right? So filamentous e kenuka dhoroner dekhabo? Fragmentation. So the next is fragmentation. One example could be Nostoc, oscillatoria. Right? These are the two things common, right? Next, we have also used the word called as, sometimes heterocysts also act as a means of reproduction. Nostoc. Binary fission, fragmentation, heterocyst, we have a new word that is called as hormogonia. So in case of hormogonia, the first thing, where can you see hormogonia formation? In filamentous forms, right? In case of a filamentous forms, right, if you are talking about this form, no, the most common type is fragmentation. Anywhere it can break and any part can produce itself or it can grow itself into a new plant, right? If you are talking about hormogonia and fragmentation, to some extent the process is similar. In fragmentation also, parts gets fragmented and each and every fragment can form a new form. Similarly, in hormogonia also, the filament gets fragmented and each and every fragment can form a new individual. But obviously, there should be a difference between fragmentation and hormogonia. Duita typote ki hoy? Fragmentation e hoy. Fragmentation of the fragmentation e hobo. Hormogonia to fragmentation e hoy. So in this type also the filament will get fragmented. In this type also the filament will get fragmented. But what is the difference? In this type, if this has to happen, the filament will get fragmented only in a specific area. But in this case, filaments can get fragmented in any area, any part of the filament. But hormogonia, the fragment depend on a particular dead cell that is called as necridia. So in this filament, if suppose there is the formation of a dead cell here, so where will the filament fragment? Here and here. So if it is on the basis of that dead cell, that is called as hormogonia. If it is not dependent on any cell and gets fragmented in any part, that is called as fragmentation. And finally, the fifth one is during unfavorable condition, we know that they form a thick wall in and around themselves. We have talked about a spore called as endospore in case of bacteria, Endosperm ketia form kore when it is unfavorable. Similarly, during unfavorable conditions, blue-green algae would form something called as echinate. What is echinate? Nothing but a thick walled cell. If it is thick wall, it is obvious that it will contain reserve food. Why it contains reserve food? Because it has to go through the unfavorable condition. Once the favorable condition arrives, then ki hobo? They will form a new individual, right. So, they will germinate into a new plant during the favorable condition, unfavorable condition enege. So, this is all about reproduction. And finally, the last point of or the last part of blue-green algae is economic importance. Likhasun? Economic importance of blue-green algae. Talking about economic importance, the first thing that we remember, soil fertility. I think you have heard about spirulina, right? If you are talking about protein rich food, tetiahale duta example we remember, one is spirulina and the other one that is called as space algae, no? Ki asile? Chlorella. Chlorella, exactly. So, I think you have noticed whenever we talk about blue-green algae, it's the same examples that we always talk about, right? It's those 3 examples or 4 examples, Anabaena, Olosira, Oscillatoria, Spirulina. So, some useful effects and some harmful effects. Talking about harmful effects, we have to remember about water bloom. Now, talking about water bloom, what is water bloom? Water bloom, bloom means growing of plants, excessive growth of that plants. As a result, what happens? The water get polluted, lack of oxygen, lack of carbon dioxide, etc., etc. So, excessive growth of plants that pollutes the water, that is what is called as water bloom. Now, water bloom, who is responsible for water bloom? It's not like this that only blue-green algae is responsible for water bloom. There are certain types of algae also which are responsible for water bloom. So, when we will be discussing about algae, at that time we will be discussing about the examples of algae responsible. As of now, water bloom, who is responsible? This one. That's the first question. Second question is, question could be asked from the examples also. Example wise question keneke khudi say the blue-green algae responsible for water bloom, right? So, out of these 3, eta example di dibo, and the common way to identify is generally in the option you will have one example which have this one, Floss equi, right? If you don't remember this part also, if you remember Floss equi, it's more than enough to remember. Floss equi is a species responsible for water bloom, right? So, Floss equi to monot rakhiba. And talking about this line, we understood, right? Generally in our water tanks, no, the tank where we store water in our house, sometimes if it is not cleaned up, we see something green that develops there. Obviously, some types of algae also and some types of blue-green algae also. The most common being oscillatory. If it's allowed to grow more, then obviously it will pollute the water. So, this is all about blue green algae. Okay, this is all. Okay, water bloomer second example to dangor ke likhi dim niki or reflection kori ase no moi yat likhi ase thik ase hobo eta dekha paisa Microcystis etu hol genus name to aru specific name Aeruginosa Aeruginosa. Is it over? Okay. So, up till here what we have discussed is we have talked about the two types of Monera. The first Eubacteria and second Cyanobacteria. Next what? Next we have to discuss about another type of Monera, that is Mycoplasma. So, heading koriba Mycoplasma. Okay, talking about Mycoplasma, let's talk about the main points that you have to remember. It's very few points that you need to remember from this part. It's a very small part. Blue green algae is the extended portion, but Mycoplasma, few lines that you need to remember. We'll write the notes later, but as of now, Mycoplasma will call it the first word, smallest cell or smallest living organism. Again, if you are talking about smallest cell with a cell wall, smallest cell without a cell wall, smallest cell with a cell wall, bacteria, without a cell wall, Mycoplasma. Second, it is a cell that does not have a cell wall. Third, it has a lot of similarities or some similarities and some differences with virus. Mycoplasma does not have a cell wall, virus also does not have a cell wall. The similarity is that one, the difference is Mycoplasma has its genetic material, virus also has its genetic material, and whenever we talk about genetic material, it comprises of what? DNA or RNA. So, you have to remember both DNA and RNA in case of Mycoplasma, only DNA or RNA in case of virus. Is the point understood? So, the question would be asked like that only, a type of cell that does not have a cell wall and has both RNA and DNA as a genetic constituents. If you hear the word both, then this one. If it is either, then it is virus, right? Next, Mycoplasma, since it does not have a cell wall, it can keep changing their morphological form. So, they are called as the jokers of the plant kingdom. Right. Next, it is responsible for causing various types of diseases. As far as disease is concerned, they attack not only human beings, but also plants and also animals. So, the question that is asked from this part is the type of mycoplasmal disease that is caused in animals or the disease that is caused in plants. Right. Mycoplasma polycole, the common disease that we talk about is obviously pneumonia. Right, pleuropneumonic form, this is another name for Mycoplasma. So, what is the disease they will cause? Pneumonia like symptoms, right. So, they will cause such type of a disease in which organisms? Plants, animals and obviously human beings. So, this is a portion, it is a very small portion, and talking about the cell structure also, few points about the cell structure, how does it look and all, very few points. One very important point is, whenever we talk about microorganisms, we talk about its effects. Right, because if we talk about bacteria, we know the bacteria causes disease. If we talk about Mycoplasma, we know it causes disease. If it causes a disease, then we have to prevent it also. Bacterial disease, I mean, can stop by application of, by using of certain type of antibiotics, right? And antibiotics made from what? Bacterial antibiotics, fungal antibiotics, etc., etc. Talking about antibiotics, the most common antibiotic that you talk about, kuntu antibiotics is common? Penicillin. Right, obviously not a bacterial antibiotic, it's a fungal antibiotic, right, but penicillin most important and most commonly used antibiotic, right. So, what the next point is, Mycoplasma is ineffective or resistant to penicillin. Bacteria is sensitive to penicillin, means you can kill a bacteria by application of, by using of penicillin, but you cannot kill a Mycoplasma by using penicillin. Why? Because penicillin acts on the cell wall. And since it does not have a cell wall, it is ineffective in case of Mycoplasma. Even that the question is asked. Why is it resistant to penicillin? It is resistant to penicillin because penicillin acts on the cell wall, Mycoplasma does not have a cell wall. That does not mean that you will never be able to control Mycoplasma or you will never be able to kill Mycoplasma. So, it would be resistant to certain types of antibiotics, sensitive to certain types of antibiotic, right. Resistant to, sensitive to, these are the two words that you need to remember. One is penicillin, the other is tetracycline, streptomycin, etc., etc. We will be talking about. So, aru at a point question ahe, discovered by, who discovered Mycoplasma and where it was discovered. It was discovered by Knockaert, I will write it down, discovered where? In the pleural cavity of cattle. Pleural cavity mane ki? The lungs, right. So, it causes lung infection. These are the points that we will write. Explanation eku nai, so the points we will write. Please write your short notes, okay, because when we are writing the note, it is a very long one, right. But as I said, when explanation part is concerned, few lines to remember. So, short note likhi loba. Knockaert and Rox, not necessary you need to remember ENER, Knockaert and Rox mont rakhile ho gol. কাৰণ জোকাৰৰ নিচিনা বুলি কিয় কাৰণে কৈছে কাৰণ সি তাৰ নিজৰ শেপটো চেঞ্জ কৰি থাকিব পাৰে ন সেল ওয়ালখন নাই যিহেতু sorry okay Most of the species are facultative anaerobes. So, what are the points that are important? I have already marked: cell wall absence, smallest prokaryote, both, right, both DNA, RNA present. Just to remember, virus has either, right. Next, if you are talking about antibiotic resistance and sensitivity, resistant to and sensitive to, right. Talking about reproduction, nothing in details. Binary fission, obviously unicellular to binary fission, but you have to remember something called as elementary bodies, right. Question 2 ahead: the main function of elementary bodies, or elementary bodies also helps in dash in blue-green algae. Elementary bodies helps in the process of reproduction in blue-green algae. What is elementary body? Since they are lower organisms, blue-green, I'm sorry, I'm talking about mycoplasma, not blue-green algae. Okay. So, elementary bodies helps in the process of reproduction in mycoplasma. What is elementary body? Elementary body is nothing but small fragments of the cell. So, what they can do is, mycoplasma is a unicellular structure. It can divide itself into small structures also. One cell divided into small cells, and these cells are unequally formed. If it is equally formed, then obviously it will be similar to binary fission. Binary fission is similar, exact the offsprings are similar, but these microorganisms can break down the cell into small unequal cells, and each cell can behave as an individual mycoplasma. That is what is called as elementary. What is elementary bodies? How is it formed? These are the questions that are not asked. The question that is asked is the role of elementary bodies in mycoplasma reproduction, right? Another point. Right. So, if you are talking about bacteria, if you are talking about mycoplasma, these are microorganisms. Where can you find? Obviously, more commonly in water bodies. If you want to separate them, how will you do? You will go for filtration. So, you have a filter paper that is called as bacterial filter, because it can separate the bacteria from that liquid. But along with that bacteria, there might be mycoplasma also, but the bacterial filter is ineffective in case of mycoplasma. What is the reason behind? Mycoplasma does not have a cell wall, and so it can go through that filter paper, right. So, A2 question I have, mycoplasma can pass through or cannot pass through bacterial filters. It can pass through bacterial filters. So, that bacterial filter paper will only filter out the bacteria, not the mycoplasma, right. And lastly, we have the mycoplasmal disease, and that is all for today. Heading kora mycoplasmal disease. এইটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট আর বাকি না লাগে। So, as we have said, mycoplasma can cause diseases in plants, animals and human beings also. So, question kene kya ahibo? Identify the mycoplasmal disease. right. So, as I think you all remember, I said there are so many types of diseases caused by bacteria, fungi, mycoplasma, virus, etc., right. So, a particular disease would be given, you have to identify whether it is bacterial or mycoplasmal or viral, etc., right. Talking about these, what is important? Obviously, from the plain section, all the 4 are important. There are some others also, not necessary. A 4টা পঢ়িবা, এইগিটা question আহেই, ঠিক আছে, and nothing about details. Especially look into this bunchy top of papaya, because bunchy top disease we are going to study again, but that is not a mycoplasmal one, that will be a fungal one, we will be talking about later, right. As far as animals are concerned, obviously pleuropneumonia will never be asked, because we know mycoplasma is associated with pneumonia. So, this is the most common one. So, etu to ketiyao question nahe, question kuntu ahibo, inflammation of genitals. You will have no idea as to its bacterial or mycoplasmal or viral, etc. But if this is asked, we have the word pneumonia, so we can easily relate it with mycoplasma. So, etu basically khudise. Similarly, in this case also, infertility of man is something that is asked instead of this one, because here also you have the word pneumonia, so we understand it's related with mycoplasma, right. I think that's all for today. So, today we have completed the third group of Monera, not third, the next group that we are discussing, that is mycoplasma. In the next class, we will be talking about the rest too. We have to discuss Archaebacteria and also another group that is called as Actinomycetes, right. So, these are the things that we are going to discuss in the next class. So, any doubts from this section? Online students, kiba doubts ase niki? Okay. So, thank you. We will meet on the next class.